Hello and welcome to a Hammond's Upholstery. In this episode, as a standalone, but it also follows on for the existing vlogs that we've done. This one is a king and queen seat, a motorcycle king and queen seat. The tins, the base has been done, so we're going to fully upholster it. Let's spin you around and show you what's going on. So this is the lever that we're going to be using. There's some recycled white leather. I think it's going to be used for the centre. I have an idea for a design that I might do on it as of yet, but time will tell. And this is the graphite carbon coloured leather that's going to be on the edge of the seat. So here we have it. It's a high back king and queen seat going on a chopper. The tins have been drilled out to take rivets where it can take rivets. The back, we're going to try and do it as a slip-on back because this back edge is seen, so we don't want to see any rivets along this edge. So the seat pan is basically prepped and ready to go, so we're going to foam it up straight away. We're going to use a 10-pound recon as the base, and then we'll probably have a 1/2-inch blue topper on it. So there you go. It's quite tall, and there's the levers that are going to be going on it. So let's get on with foaming this up. So just before we foam it up, I'm going to take a couple of templates, just make life easier later in the project. We're going to template the seat pan itself, and we're going to template the back as well, and the side panels here, so we get this shape right. The top we don't really need to template because that's straight. So let's crack on and get these templates drawn and cut out, and then we can get on with foaming. Just take these fixings off the back so we can lay this down flat, and we can get a template of this back part of the seats. This is just cardboard I'm drawing this onto. So that's the back. Let's mark the seats like that. Just try and not waste any of the cardboard if I can. I don't need to mark these rivet holes, they're irrelevant at this point. So that's the back and the seat done. Just got to template this edge now. Yes, it is a bit more awkward. I'm going to allow on this side template, because it just goes thin here, going to mark the top edge, and I'm just going to cut it further round, just to make my life a bit easier. But it will also be the overhang that gets wrapped round and gets riveted on this edge here. Okay, so that's the side, comes round and gets riveted here. So I'm going to put this allowance on here now. Sharp knife, and you should be able to cut this quite easily. Might take a couple of passes, but that's no problem. Right, this side panel will be adjusted for the seat itself. This is just so I've got a reference point to start from. So obviously this is going to have foam on it, but this is just so I've got a reference point for the steel on it. It may be completely unnecessary on the side panel, but it's better to have it than not to have it at this point. So that's the side panel, you can see that. This is the steel portion of it. This is just the salvage on the fabric or the leather that's going to get put underneath, but bear in mind this will need adjusting because we're going to have foam on this edge here, but it's a reference point. Doing the seat portion. This is the top side of it, just in case there's any discrepancy in the sheet metal work. Like that. Then we have the final piece. The back rest. There's your cardboard size for the next project. See that? So we've got the seat, mark the face side of backrest and the backrest there. So these will come into play later once it's foamed up. We've got some templates to work on. I'm thinking about potentially doing a stitching design onto the seat. That's for later. So that's the cardboard templates made. Got a good reference point if I need to come back to. Now we will get our chip foam and get this foamed up. So, like I said previously, this is £10 recon. We're going to use this for the base of the carcass. I'm going to layer this up, it's 1 inch thick. We're just going to use a wet fix, a spray glue, get that in the tins in most hardware stores, and we're going to cut it. You can use a bread knife or whatever you need to use. I've got a saw to do this. We'll get this cut, we'll use our template to get the shape out. And then we'll glue it on to the pan. Right, so that's the base foam cut roughly to size or to size. On this seat here, I'm not quite happy with how this round on here. The passenger may feel like they're sliding towards the front, so we're going to put this little wedge in here, glue that in, and that will give us a little bit of a kick on the front edge, so you feel like you're sitting more in a saddle. So that's the idea of that. So all this now needs to get bonded to the steel, and then we can look at the 1/2 inch foam to cover everything. It's very flat, straightforward seat. The leather is going to have some foam stitched into it as well, or some fibre at least. So let's get on with that next bit. Foam on it. You can see what I mean. We've got this slight kick on the front now of this seat, so you feel like you sat more in this dip here. The flat's very flat. The front is very flat. There you go. That's the £10 Recon glued on. The foam is overhanging the edge of the tins by about 2mm, just so it protects the vinyl, leather, or whatever fabric you're putting on from this edge. It's been well sanded, the tins. I've no doubt it wouldn't cut through, but it's just make sure. we get that nice edge on here. So we've got to get some 1/2 inch foam out of the rack, and then we cover this. This seat doesn't need much sculpting. It's very flat, it's old school 60s, 70s style seat that we want, so it doesn't really need any sculpting at all on this particular one. Okay, let's get the blue foam out and crack on with finishing covering this with the filling the foam. So a little change with how I was going to do this. I was going to cover the whole thing with the blue foam that you see here on the edges. The tops are now going to be fluted, so putting the 1/2 inch foam on here and then another 1/2 inch foam on top is going to make these quite substantially bigger than what it is, and I'm a bit concerned about this back getting too thick and looking out of proportion. So we're not going to put anything on the top, we've just put the foam on the sides so we get a nice smooth edge, because this is just going to be the plain leather on the edges, and then with the foam being stitched into the top leather, I think that's going to be more than adequate. At the end of the day, it's a king and queen seat on a 60s style chopper. You're not going to be touring across America on it, not nowadays anyway. I wouldn't want to on a hardtail, but knock yourself out, you brave people know. So that's what we're going to do. So that's ready now, the foam's all done, minimal sculpting needed on this. We're now going to look at cutting the leather and stitching the fluting in it. I'm going to have a bit of an experiment to start with doing a design on top, but you will get to see that shortly. So we'll be back to you when I've worked out what we're going to do with the top. Okay. So that was disappointing. I just tried to do the little experiment I wanted to do with a design on the seat top. Unfortunately, the stitching failed. I think it's due to the adhesive I was using on the back of the leather, but I will have another go. Let's just show you the result. So there you have it, a little daisy design that was going to go on the centre, well, on this seat. Well, unfortunately, you can see here, I'll try to show you that the stitching's failed. Very disappointing, because that came out lovely. So second try to go. There you go. So that's very disappointing. I hope the first one wasn't the best. Let's have another go at that, see if we can get it to work this time. Okay, so this whole thing's a bit of an experiment for myself, but there you go. So like I said earlier, we want the back portion of the seat to slip on because we don't want to have any rivets or anything on the outside back of it. So I've made up the sock, which is this here, which is basically the back pad. So I'm just going to try temporarily fitting it, see how it fits now, and you'll get a better idea of what I'm on about. This is just a silicone spray. It should theoretically help the leather glide over the foam instead of sticking. Let's spray some in there. Let's see. I'll try and get this in a position where you can see what's going on as well. Pull that down as tight as I can against the steel to start with. I'll just peel it down. There's two fixing holes in the back of this here. I won't punch them through yet. There's one right at the top here and one about halfway here. So the border doesn't look too bad, it's not too loose. It was quite easy to get on. I was expecting it to be a bit harder. That may suggest that it needs tightening up a little bit. There you go. That is the idea. The tricky bit is how do we finish off all this at the bottom? Okay, but I'm quite pleased with that and how that's come out. I think if I potentially try to tighten that up a little bit, I may be creating a lot of problems. So sometimes it might be good just as well to leave it alone. So that's the back portion with the daisy motif on it, and the daisy motif to go on the seat. The seat goes on like so, and then we have panel that goes through the centre to join the two up, which I think is the next part. I need to get that sewn in with its borders. I don't have them as of yet, so we need to get these borders cut and work out how all three pieces are going to get stitched together to make the one seat. So there you have it. It's pretty much sewn together now. Well, it is sewn together now. So the cover's pulled over. It fits okay. We've got a back on it here. A bit wobbly, but I'll adjust that because it's not actually been riveted off on the bottom. So it just take a little bit of fettling. But other than that, it's come out quite nice. I'm sure it's not particularly detailed in the sense of the ins and outs of how everything is done, but our videos are not really instructional. They're just to give you a clue on how to do stuff, how we do things here, and what we're on with in the workshop at any given time. So there you go, little daisy in the centre and on the back. Yeah, I think that look great. Just need to get it all pulled over the edges and riveted off on the bottom. That'll bring the tension into it. I shall do that next and get back to you with a finished item. So there you have it, a king and queen seat done by myself. I have a confession, it's for me. It's not perfect by a long shot, but I'm happy enough with it for this bike that I'm building. I don't call myself a trimmer, I'm an upholsterer. I'm sure a car trimmer would do a far better job, or somebody that's doing seats all the time would do a far better job. But there you go. Nice little daisy design on it. Ribbed seat, contrasting sides. It's going to get steamed now just to get the creases out. The less creases you have to start with, the easier it is. But it's a very slim seat, so it should suit the style of the bike. So there you go. So there you have it. Little project for myself there. So that's done and ready to go on my bike. I'm not a car trimmer. I don't claim to be a trimmer. I've got a lot to learn from trimmers. I think there's definitely a crossover between what we do, domestic and contract upholstery, and trimming. There's a lot of skills that could be learned, but there you go. Not bad. It'll look good on the bike. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. It's not necessarily meant to be instructional, because like I say, I don't class myself as a car trimmer, but I think it's a pretty good effort anyway. So let's have a quick look at the underside. Here we go. So riveted all the way round. There's no way that's coming off. The bottom will get a self-adhesive felt on here so it doesn't damage the paintwork on the mudguard. But there you go, all done. So there you go, there's the steamer going just over my shoulder, so I best get on with steaming that. It's going all out the windows. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, it means a lot to us, and keep watching for more interesting content. Thanks again, bye bye.